live. I think we are. Sometimes I've noticed in all the Facebook live things we've been doing that there's a little bit of a delay between the actual start and when you start talking. And actually, now that I think about it, I forget if it's like, if it comes on too soon, so you're sitting there like waiting to talk, or if it's the other way around and you're like mid-sentence and you're like in the middle of a really funny joke and they just, someone jumps in halfway. So I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we have probably many weeks ahead of us to learn and get better at these things.
Thanks, Aliki. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. You can always rely on me for some optimism.
But, you know, today, though, is a special day, and I do want to make sure that we are, you know, talking about what is great about today, right? Because today is a little bit different than other days, and it's kind of neat. But before we get started, I do think that we should do the thing we do, where we introduce ourselves. Okay, so why don't you go ahead?
That thing we do.
It's traditional. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's very. Let's keep this very traditional, Jonathan.
Okay.
My name is Aliki Moncrief. I'm the Executive Director of Florida Conservation Voters.
And I'm Jonathan Weber, the Deputy Director of Florida Conservation Voters. And so we are here today because today is #Giving Tuesday now.
Yeah. Now. Well, because normally it happens in November, right? And the whole Giving Tuesday movement, I guess, for lack of a better word, started as a counterbalance to sort of the rampant consumerism that happens on Black Friday traditionally in the United States. That Black Friday post-Thanksgiving shopping extravaganza where Americans go at like, I don't know, 4 a.m. and wait outside of shops. Or they camp out at night to get like good deals on TVs and cameras and games and like get a jump start on their Christmas consumerism, I guess.
Yeah. I grew up in South Florida, as did you, but you left before South Florida got cool. Okay.
Who do you think made South Florida cool, my friend?
It was you. It was. But so the Sawgrass.
Well, not me personally, but my generation.
It's true. So there's a place in Broward County. It's over a beautifully paved over area of former Everglades. It's called Sawgrass Mills Mall. Okay. And I grew up going to Sawgrass Mills Mall because it was in my neck of the woods there. We were there all the time. And one time at midnight, on Thanksgiving, I guess turning into Thursday to Friday, turning into Black Friday, my wife Rachel, but my girlfriend at the time, we went to the mall at midnight to kind of see, like, I wonder if anyone's there. And Aliki, it was like pandemonium. There was thousands of people there. And as soon as they unlocked the doors, everyone did that thing where they like run in, and we just walked around like I might as well have been in like a spacesuit or like a beekeeper outfit. And it was just like, what world is this? What is happening? I did get some yogurt though. Actually, it was custard. I got custard. I remember that. And walked around, ate my custard, and watched everyone buy all sorts of things. It was insane. But that does lead into what you just said, is that this kind of pandemonium on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday, Cyber Monday, leads into Tuesday, where some genius of geniuses out there said, why don't we create a day where we can actually do some good with our dollars and our pocketbooks and give back to the nonprofit community that provides such a wonderful service in every aspect of Floridian life, American life, really global life, you could say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's totally true. I mean, I actually think in the United States, I think Americans are recognized as being quite philanthropic, actually. The spirit of charity and giving to nonprofits is pretty strong. And you know, it's not about a person's level of wealth. People from all socioeconomic levels, we're givers. Americans tend to be givers, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing, right?
Yeah. So that's why we're having this chat, right, on Giving Tuesday now, because obviously it's a little different. It's not about consumerism. It's coming on the heels of some of the worst few weeks in the United States of the COVID corona epidemic, and I think a lot of nonprofits are feeling the crunch. So we would love for our supporters to show us some love and make a small contribution today, even if it's $5. Every little bit is super helpful.
Every little bit counts. I agree. And then, you know, the more people, you know, give a little bit, it really can add up quick, and it really means such a difference to us and the rest of our staff. So let me just ask you real quick. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, actually, I think in a lot of ways it's more powerful if you have more people giving a little than if you have few people giving a lot.
Agreed.
I'd
Average
rather
donation,
have
$27.
yeah, I mean, I'd rather have 1 million people supporting our work with a $5 contribution than 2 people, right?
Right. Agreed.
That's much better.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we can take both. We'll take both.
Aliki, first thing I would ask, Carson, who's our comms manager, who's watching, if you would pop the donate link into the comments section, that would be fantastic. Number one. Number two, Aliki, let me just ask you, there could be some people watching this right now who might be like, follow us on Facebook, because we do, interesting stuff, but they're not super familiar with our work. If you were to bump into someone, say at like a party, like all these you're at like a ball or a gala or something, right? And someone's like, oh, what do you do, Miss Moncrief? What would you, what's your pitch to this general person who just kind of knows you, wants to know, like, what do you actually do? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we do is surprisingly simple. We elect lawmakers who will protect our environment and protect healthy communities for all Floridians. That's what we do.
I love it.
And so whether it's us writing an op-ed, us lobbying in front of the legislature, whether it's us sending out action alerts to our members, all of those things are viewed through the lens of, is this going to help us in the long run elect lawmakers who are going to actually stand up for our environmental values and who are going to help protect healthy communities. I mean, public health, environmental health is really one of the most important reasons that we do the work we do. I think, sometimes people think of environmental work as bugs and bunnies and flowers and wild areas, and we love all those areas. We also are, honestly, as just humanity, we should be in this for ourselves. There's a selfish reason to protect the environment because it protects our home. It protects our air quality. It protects our water quality. It keeps us alive and healthy.
Right. I love that. And I love that you're right. It is a fairly simple answer, right? And that's kind of the beauty of the mission, I think. And it's so what attracted me to Florida Conservation Voters before I was hired. I was like, oh, that's what a wonderful mission that is. I'll tell you what my favorite thing actually about the work we do is I absolutely love when we connect voters and citizens, residents to their elected officials. Whether it's we can help facilitate, say, like a lobby day where we can actually go around the Capitol and have meetings with constituents and their lawmakers. We can facilitate that. Or actually, another way I really like is online. We can actually set up those online portals that we send out all the time where people can easily click a button and it automatically sends their message to their specific elected officials. Because I know that it's hard sometimes to actually keep up with who's my state house member again. I know that person resigned or dropped out or wasn't it so-and-so. And now with term limits, it's very easy to lose track of like who's in office when. The fact that we can help provide that service, which is that anyone can log into our system and type in their address and be able to connect with their locally elected officials, send them a message about what's important to them. I think there's something like inherently fantastic about that because, I'm a fan of our government. I'm a fan of our style of government. I've been a fan, since I was a kid, as you are as well, because you're a lawyer. I am not a lawyer, but I'm
that automatically makes me a fan of our style of government, but okay.
Well, you like it enough, all right? So
study it.
Yeah, right. Going back, I think about back when I was in high school, right? And like kind of, having these like fanboy things about like the founding fathers and like how they created the Constitution and the Federalist Papers and
Did you have like George Washington like posters like on or Abraham Lincoln like in your room?
In my locker. It was in my locker is where it was. And right. It was built into the mirror I had in my locker and I could like look at the different founding fathers. But there is something like, inherently like interesting and cool about our style of government. And the idea is that like, anyone can be an elected official. I mean, obviously anyone can try to be. This like base idea, right? And then the idea is that, okay, even if you're not an elected official, you have every darn right to go up to that, petition your government and tell them, hey, I don't like X, Y, and Z, and I'm mad at you and you should fix it, or whatever it may be. And something about that I love. And I love that democracy in our republic, our constitutional republic, is not a spectator sport, right? And that is kind of overplayed, right? Like that's a cliche, but it's true. And it requires an active citizenry to really make a great government. And the fact that we can play a small role, a very small role, I know that, in helping people connect to their elected officials on issues that matter to them I mean, that's how I sleep at night, right? Is that like,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
I mean, it basically comes down to elected officials represent us, and they are, in a lot of ways, they're our agent, right? And so, maybe your bank is your agent for purposes of handling your financial affairs. And, when you have a lawyer who's helping you work through a will or some kind of legal situation, they're your agent. They're helping, they're basically helping you achieve your goal. And they have some responsibility to you. If your lawyer or your real estate agent or your banker or whoever goes and does something completely off the walls crazy with your resources, or banker is just sort of easy, right? Like they take all of your money in your bank account and they just send it down to zero on something that you absolutely don't value. You would hold them accountable. And it's the same thing with lawmakers. When they pass laws, when they spend state dollars in ways that Floridians in general don't agree with, we have to hold them accountable. So it's kind of full circle. You were talking about the sort of the online actions and the engagement with legislators up front. I mean, the work that we do really goes full circle, because the other piece of that is us reporting out what happens, right? So like our legislative report that we do every year. We try to, I think, really huge credit to you and the rest of the FCB team for always making that report something that really tells you what happened without necessarily getting into the play-by-play nitty-gritty that gets confusing. It's like, here's the analysis, here's what we have to show for what lawmakers did. So that's another way I think that we help keep people engaged with our democracy, is by reporting back on what happened.
Right. And in this, well, really since the beginning, like one of the problems of our republic, and I think the founding fathers knew this was a problem, was like, how do regular voters actually understand what is going on at the Capitol, right? Mm-hmm. And to get through like the bluster and the spin, which has been since day one, right? I mean, that's human nature. And it's thanks to organizations like ours, and there's plenty of other ones out there that are also good, that can actually help cut through the noise and help voters actually understand, oh, that vote did this. Here's actually the words to it. Here's how it affects me. And boy, that was actually not how the lawmakers portraying it at all. I like that. And that I think that there's something so important to that.
It's unspinning the spin.
Yeah, right. Hashtag. Yeah. I love it. So
like a hashtag factory over here, Jonathan.
Well, you can just say the word hashtag and it works. Yeah. So that I think something I love about that. So I would want to ask you a question here. So a recent example of FCV and our sister organization, FCV Education Fund, working on promoting the dialogue between the people and the state power structure, elected leaders. In this case, it's the governor. Has to do with the COVID-19 pandemic and the government's response. So we started a campaign with our partners in 100% conjunction with many other partners called Connected in Crisis. Aliki, can you tell us a little bit about Connected in Crisis, why it's so important, and how does it play into this fundamental kind of idea of why it's important to connect voters to their lawmakers?
Well, so we started, as you said, with many other partners who work on clean energy and climate justice issues when, I guess it was middle of March. And Florida, people started closing offices. We were sort of getting ready to handle the corona crisis in Florida. We had all been working on a clean energy agenda. And one of the core concepts that we were working on is this idea of energy burden, and how, a utility bill isn't the same for every person in Florida. Low-income families oftentimes are paying a much larger share of their utility bill, a much larger share of their income just to keep the lights on, just to keep the AC running. And so there's already a scenario, even without a global pandemic that's shutting down our economy, there's already a crisis that's happening in low-income communities when it comes to energy. And so when the pandemic it's still happening. So it's like I stumble on my verb tense. But when the economy really started taking a hit, people started having to stay at home, people started losing their jobs. That made the crisis even more serious and more acute for low-income families. And so we started with our partners a call on Governor DeSantis to essentially establish a moratorium on any utility shutoffs to make sure that no one in the state of Florida during this global pandemic will have the risk of their lights being shut off, the risk of losing electricity.
Right.
And fortunately, there are quite a number, especially the larger utilities that are, they've got deeper pockets, they've got more resources. They voluntarily issued notices to their ratepayers, their customers, saying, we're not going to cut off your electricity. Mm-hmm. We're now asking, okay, that's great. It's great that they're doing it voluntarily, but it shouldn't be voluntary. Like, this should be something that the governor and the Public Service Commission are establishing across the board for all Floridians. And so it's not up to the whim or the financial bottom line of powerful utilities to say when they are going to change that policy. Mm-hmm. So the Connected in Crisis campaign is really trying to set a baseline level of safety and security for Florida families. Obviously, low-income families are the families who are going to bear the brunt of any downturn in the economy, and they're the ones who are most at risk if the power does go off, right. Because they've already been overwhelmed with air pollution, lower like higher asthma rates, public health issues. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I could ramble on about the Connected in Crisis campaign, but first step is governor issue a moratorium across the state. No one should lose their power. Number one. Number two, if anybody did get their power cut off right before the crisis, that power should be turned on. Like, no one should not have power now. Number three, we need to have some clarity around what's going to happen once the bills start being due.
Which is like right about now, right? The past couple weeks.
Right about now. Right. Exactly. And I think the coalition, our view is that utilities should bear some of the brunt here. It shouldn't mm-hmm. all be foisted onto Florida families so that they see their rates go up next year to account for the past due amounts, that sort of thing. So that's the Connected in Crisis campaign.
It is, and again, I love it. I love this campaign. I love that we are doing this not alone, that it's with plenty of partners, and that this is kind of a united thing with lots of other community groups in Florida to try to really help protect people who need it during this crisis. And you're right, like, it's still unfolding as every day, right? I mean, this is not over. Yeah. I mean, and the governor or the president can say it's time to, go back to normal and bring out the parades, whatever they want to do. I don't care. This is still happening mm-hmm. in the real world, and trying to find ways to provide some comfort and safety for Florida's families is fantastic. And the best way to do that is to actually connect them with their elected officials and the governor. So we do have a portal set up on the Connected in Crisis website, which is connectedincrisis.org, and it would automatically, a little screen pops up immediately, and it will help mm-hmm. you send an email to the governor like that. You can just do it. It's great, and we know that these emails have an impact. And I'm going to actually tell one quick little story because we don't have a bunch of time today. No one wants to listen to us ramble on either, I don't think. Actually, maybe they do. I like listening to us ramble, Aliki. But anyway, so we do another thing that we engage on, of course, is public lands. It's one of our pillars. We want to make sure that there are ample green spaces and public parks for people to enjoy, not only to enhance our quality of life as citizens of Florida, but also to protect our environment, right? I mean, we have some mm-hmm. beautiful, amazing, rare species that live in the state, plants and wildlife animals, and making sure that those things have a home is, like, I think worth it, right? Like, it's worth protecting. So every year we advocate for funding for Florida's premier land conservation program called Florida Forever, and right. we send emails as well as like advocacy at the Capitol. Us, pounding the marble there and knocking on doors and saying, don't forget about Florida Forever this year. But the key process, the key thing here is making sure that Floridians are amplifying our calls, because all we can do is basically remind legislators that the people still care. That's basically what we do, right? And if the people don't care, or it looks like they don't care, then it's easy to forget, right? So making sure that we are still contacting the people, have access to contact their legislators about the issues that we know they care about, because the people tell us all the time, is key to this process. So this year, a couple months ago, we helped, thousands of Floridians send a flurry of emails in the run up to the budget conference, which is where they actually hash out the final details of the budget every year. And, we said, the people in the email said, hey guys, don't forget about Florida Forever this year. It's really important. We need you to fund it at the amount requested. This is one of my favorite things that ever happened to me in Florida politics, by the way. So at the final budget hearing on the environment, the chair at the time, State Representative Holly Rashine, who she's term limited, she won't be back next year. She actually was reading out the number and said, this year for Florida Forever, we have X million dollars, and you can stop the emails, is what she said. And I absolutely loved it, because sometimes, when it gets really desperate over there at the Capitol and you're not sure if anything's working or if anyone's doing anything or anyone's listening, to hear a representative at one of the highest parts of our government for the environment, for sure, say to us, we got the message, Florida. We're listening to the people of Florida, and we're going to make sure that we are funding this at the amount that we had said. There'll be no cuts. I thought was just really great and a great moment. And it showed,
Well, it's a testament to the fact that the emails make a difference, the calls make a difference. Lawmakers notice, if you, on any given day in the Capitol, if nothing's going on, it's like crickets, right? The phone it's not ringing off the hook. The inbox isn't filling or overflowing. And when there's a call to action and people really step up, it's noticeable.
It is. In that case, it was like I think like 1,500 emails in a matter of like less than 40. It was like 40 hours or something crazy like that. So people really listen, and that was just I thought the coolest. But here's one thing I'll add real quick: that system that we use, it's not free, right?
No.
And we do have to pay for it. We're happy to pay for it. Obviously, we think it's delightful and it's great and it's key to the work we do. So we do have to pay for that. So again, why a gift is important is because it helps us pay for the tools that allow us to reach as many Floridians as possible, and the other side, as many legislators as possible or elected officials. So there's a key component here, is that why your support means so much to us, to me personally. And that's the story I just wanted to tell there.
Yeah, which is why, I know like times are not easy for sure. I think there's a lot of people, I certainly feel, like you said, things are constantly unfolding. I think every day is a new model or a different way of looking at what we might be dealing with in the coming weeks and months. So I know it's not an easy time, but at the same time, any amount really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's the times that aren't easy are the most important times. I mean, that you make by saying it's not an easy time. I mean, you're making the case for why supporting nonprofits in general is that now's the time to do it.
Well, I mean, part of it is on every level. I mean, the Trump administration, we've seen they're taking the opportunity to push through some bad policies right now. And so whether you're talking about our government, our elected officials using this crisis as an opportunity to push forward things that the public doesn't support, whether you're talking about, for example, in the work that we do on the toll roads to ruin, those processes, those public, like they're still trucking along to push those projects through, even in the midst of this crisis. And so the threat isn't going away, and so the work has to continue. So, I know for me, every single contribution that comes in the door is something that it just means a lot to me, because it's a pat on the back, it's a thumbs up, it's a thanks FBV for doing the work that you're doing, and it makes me feel like honestly on top of the world when people show their support by just chipping in to help us keep doing the work that we do love to do it, but I think everyone at FCV, we're all very mission-driven people, and we're doing this work because it's important. It's important to save our planet for our children, for their children, and even for the children who are alive like right now, and people who are alive right now today. Right? It's not even just about a future thing. It's a right now.
And certainly at the rate Florida is growing, it literally is a right now thing. Right. Because like in 10 years, I mean, I've lived in Tallahassee now just over 10 years, and it's like a very different looking community than it was even when I moved here in 2008. Right. So
yeah, and that's tame compared to some other places in Florida where it's like 1,000 times more intense.
Right. So, well, we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
But it was nice seeing you. I like talking to you.
Yeah, it's always and it's fun to talk to you in this medium.
I know, Aliki, I think next time we do one of these, we should do just like a not have like a plan and just talk. I think people would be interested in us just talking. No, maybe not.
I don't know. You and I have joked over the years about airing our debates, our discussions.
Maybe we can test it on our personal accounts first, okay?
Yeah, we can call it recreational conflict with Aliki and Jonathan.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate every single one of you. So does Aliki. On behalf of the entire staff, thank you so much. Keep on giving to your charities of your choice. FCV, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.